Success thrives in silence. Not because it's elusive or secretive, but because it requires time and space to develop. Much like a seed, success begins its journey hidden beneath the soil. It doesn't make an announcement to the world, nor does it seek validation or attention. Instead, it quietly and steadily pushes forward until, one day, it stands tall for all to witness. Yet so many of us feel an urge to broadcast our intentions, what we're working on, what we're planning, and how we intend to get there. Why is that? Perhaps it stems from a need for validation, a desire to be recognized, or simply the excitement of proclaiming, "Look at me, I'm on my way." But here's the catch. The more we talk about our plans, the less energy we have to bring them to life. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? Oversharing can drain the very momentum needed for success. Through my experiences in business and personal development, I've seen this pattern repeat itself over and over. People with bold visions and powerful ambitions, ideas that have the potential to transform their lives, end up talking themselves out of action. How? By sharing too much, too soon. They expose their dreams to the cold winds of doubt, criticism, and distraction. And before they realize it, the fire that once burned so brightly begins to fade. That's why I want to introduce you to a mindset rooted in wisdom, the power of keeping your plans close, not out of secrecy, but out of strategy. We'll explore the importance of prioritizing action over words, focus over attention, and results over recognition. Because in the end, what truly matters isn't what you say you'll do, it's what you actually achieve. There's an undeniable link between intention and action. Each time you share your goals, dreams, and aspirations with others, you're releasing some of the energy that fuels them. That fire is often best kept contained, nurtured in the quiet of your own mind, rather than exposed to the world prematurely. One reason for this is simple. When you announce your plans, you create an illusion of progress. You say, "I'm starting a business," or "I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And those around you nod in approval, offering smiles and encouragement. And then one day, you unveil it, fully formed, polished, and undeniable. The impact is far greater than if you had spent all that time talking about what you were going to do. There's a unique strength in quiet preparation, in letting your work, not your words, make the statement. It's easy to get caught up in the validation that comes from simply sharing your intentions. A round of applause, a nod of approval. It feels good, doesn't it? That recognition can be addictive. But here's the danger. The mind can mistake that approval for actual progress. You haven't built anything yet, but you've already tasted the reward. And what happens then? The urgency fades. The fire that once burned hot begins to cool. Suddenly, the dream that felt so real, so full of promise, starts to seem like something you've already achieved. At least in your mind. You slip into comfort, and the hard work, the real often uncomfortable work that brings ideas to life, gets delayed. This is how dreams wither before they even have a chance to grow. Now, some might argue that sharing goals helps with accountability, and that's true to an extent, but accountability only works when it's with the right people at the right time. The reality is, not everyone who listens to your plans will truly understand them. Some will question your reasoning, doubt your capabilities, or project their own fears onto you. They may not say it outright, but their skepticism lingers, hanging in the air like an unseen weight. And if you're not careful, that doubt can seep into your own thoughts. And you begin to second guess yourself. You wonder, what if they're right? What if I'm not ready? What if my idea isn't as strong as I thought? I'm not saying you should never share your aspirations, far from it. The key is to be intentional about who you share them with and when. In the early stage, your vision needs protection, just like a young seedling shielded from frost. Surround yourself with those who will nurture your dreams, not trample on them. Seek out mentors, trusted friends, or supporters who genuinely want to see you succeed. But even then, be mindful of how much you reveal. Let your work develop in silence. Let your results be the proof. There's a certain power in the unexpected, in revealing something only when it's ready. Picture this. You've been working on a project for months, maybe even years, without a word to anyone. Then, when the time is right, you unveil it. Complete, undeniable, and ready to make an impact. I make an impact, but when you move in silence, when you keep your focus on execution rather than explanation, you shield yourself from all that unnecessary interference. You stay in control of your vision, your energy, and your momentum. And when the time comes to finally reveal what you built, the impact is undeniable. There's something undeniably powerful about unveiling a finished product, a completed goal, or a major achievement without having spent months or years hinting at it. When people see the result without all the previews, the surprise adds weight to your success. It becomes a testament to the fact that action will always outshine words. I once knew a young man eager to start his own business. His enthusiasm was contagious, and he couldn't wait to share his plans with anyone who would listen. Every chance he got, he'd talk about his vision, what he was going to do, how successful he was about to become, and how his life was on the brink of transformation. At first, people nodded along, encouraging his excitement. But as time passed and nothing materialized, their encouragement faded into skepticism. Why? Because months went by and all he did was talk. Eventually, even he started to lose faith in his own dream. Now, contrast that with another man I knew, a farmer from the Midwest. He had a vision of turning his modest family farm into something extraordinary. But rather than speaking about it, he simply got to work. He studied successful farmers, experimented with new techniques, and made quiet, consistent improvements. He didn't seek applause or validation. He let his results do the talking. And when harvest season came, he stunned everyone. The quality and quantity of his crops far exceeded expectations. People asked, "How did you do it?" And he simply smiled and said, "By working when no one was watching." There's a lesson in that. The less you talk, the more time and energy you have to take action. The less you seek approval, the more confidence you cultivate within yourself. The fewer details you share prematurely, the more control you maintain over your own story. This isn't about secrecy, it's about strategy. It's about recognizing that your dreams deserve protection, that they need time to develop away from unnecessary noise, doubt, and distractions. Because in the end, actions will always carry more weight than words. How often have you shared an idea or a goal only to feel your motivation slip away afterward? How many times have you let someone's doubts shake your confidence? These are important questions because they highlight just how much power we unintentionally give away when we speak too soon. The good news? You can reclaim that power. You can choose to channel your energy into execution, to safeguard your dreams, and to let your achievements speak for themselves. The world is already filled with noise. Opinions, distractions, unsolicited advice, all fighting for your attention. And when you share your aspirations too freely, you're inviting even more of that noise into your life. You're opening the door to criticism, skepticism, and even envy. But when you share too soon, that momentum can be disrupted. Every comment, every doubt, every unsolicited opinion adds friction to your progress. Suddenly, instead of moving forward with clarity, you're hesitating, second-guessing, and losing the natural rhythm that comes from focused action. Think about it. When you share your big idea with someone, how often do you receive pure encouragement and excitement? Sometimes, yes, but more often the response is cautious, skeptical, or laced with subtle doubt. Are you sure that's a good idea? That sounds risky. I knew someone who tried that and it didn't work out. On the surface, these comments seem harmless, but they plant tiny seeds of uncertainty in your mind. And doubt, once it takes root, can spread quickly. Before you know it, the confidence you once had begins to waver, and the dream that felt so possible starts to feel out of reach. And it's not just the skeptics you need to be mindful of. There are also those who envy your ambition, not because they dislike you, but because your drive reminds them of their own unfulfilled potential. They might not say it outright, but their energy, their subtle negativity can drain you just the same. Then there are the well-meaning advisors, the ones who genuinely want to help, but unintentionally overwhelm you with conflicting advice and unnecessary suggestions. They mean well, but their input can cloud your vision, leaving you scattered and uncertain about which direction to take. That's why discretion is such a powerful tool. When you keep your plans private, you protect your focus. You create a quiet space where your ideas can grow, undisturbed by external influences. It's like building a greenhouse for your dreams, a controlled environment where they can develop strong roots before facing the unpredictable elements of the world. And within that space, you have the opportunity to build something even more valuable, momentum. Momentum is everything. It's that force that carries you forward when you take consistent, purposeful action toward your goals. And here's the truth. Momentum thrives in silence. When your focus is entirely on the work, not on discussing the work, you build a natural rhythm. Each step forward reinforces the next. Each small win fuels the next move. And before you know it, real progress has been made. Because all that talking drained the energy he needed to actually do the work. Every time he shared his plans, he got a small taste of the validation and excitement that should have come from completing the book itself. But since he hadn't actually written it yet, that fleeting sense of accomplishment replaced his motivation to sit down and do the hard part. It's the same pattern we see over and over again. The more you talk about your goals, the more you shift your focus from action to explanation, from doing to justifying. Every conversation about your plans becomes a distraction, a moment spent discussing what you will do instead of actually doing it. It's like trying to drive a car but stopping every few miles to show people your map. You lose speed, you lose momentum, and worst of all, you lose that sense of purpose that comes from staying in motion. The first friend, the one who quietly wrote his book in private, understood something powerful. Momentum is fragile. He protected his creative energy by keeping his work to himself until it was ready to stand on its own. And when he finally revealed what he had accomplished, people weren't just impressed with the result, they respected the discipline and dedication it took to make it happen. The second friend, however, let his enthusiasm turn into a distraction. By constantly seeking input and validation, he unknowingly diffused the fire that should have fueled his writing. The result, a project that never fully materialized. This is why silence can be such an advantage. When you keep your goals to yourself, you're not hiding them, you're preserving them, you're allowing them to grow without interference, without doubt, and without the weight of external expectations. So the next time you feel the urge to announce your plans, pause for a moment, ask yourself, do I want applause? Or do I want results? Because in the end, only one of those will truly matter. It's full of twists, setbacks, and unexpected detours. But when you're constantly talking about your plans, you create an artificial sense of obligation to stay on a path that might not even be the right one anymore. Instead of adapting naturally, you feel pressure to stick to what you said you'd do, even when a better route presents itself. This is why silence can be so powerful. It allows you the freedom to explore, to pivot, to make mistakes without the fear of external judgment. When you move in silence, you're not weighed down by the expectations of others. You're free to focus purely on progress. Action builds confidence. Every small step forward reinforces your belief in yourself, proving that you're capable. It's in the doing, not the talking, that true momentum is built. But too much talking does the opposite. It breeds hesitation, making you overanalyze, second guess, and stall before you even begin. Some worry that keeping their goals private makes them seem distant or secretive. But discretion isn't about shutting people out. It's about protecting your focus. Your dreams are valuable, and not everyone deserves a say in them. Just like a garden, your ambitions need time to take root before being exposed to the world. You wouldn't invite a crowd to trample the soil before the seeds have even sprouted. Instead, you nurture them carefully, allowing them the space to grow strong. The same principle applies to your goals. Keeping them to yourself isn't about being secretive, it's about being strategic. It gives you the space to grow, learn, and adapt without the noise of outside opinions. And when the time comes to share your success, it will be undeniable because it will be backed by real, tangible results. So here's a challenge. The next time you set a goal, resist the urge to announce it. Instead, channel that energy into action. Write it down, make a plan, and take the first step. Not for validation, but for yourself. Because in the end, success isn't about impressing others with what you say you'll do. It's about proving to yourself what you're truly capable of accomplishing. Because real achievement stands on its own. It doesn't need a grand announcement. When you quietly put in the work, stay disciplined, and execute with focus, your results will always speak louder than any promise you could make. This is why patience and discretion are such powerful tools. When you reveal too much too soon, you risk diluting your momentum, inviting unnecessary scrutiny, or even handing your ideas to someone else who is quicker to act. But when you keep your head down and build in silence, you protect your vision until it's strong enough to stand on its own. And there's another important truth. When you're not constantly seeking validation, you become more attuned to your own instincts. You stop relying on external opinions to shape your path and instead develop the confidence to trust yourself. This is where real power comes from. Not from talking about what you're going to do, but from knowing that you can do it without needing an audience to reassure you. Now, does this mean you should never seek feedback? Of course not. Feedback is valuable, but only at the right time and from the right people. In the early stages, your energy should be directed toward refining your ideas, testing them, and putting them into action. Once you have something tangible, something that's been shaped by your own experience and effort, that's when the right feedback can be truly beneficial. I once knew someone with a brilliant mind for spotting opportunities. He had endless innovative ideas, but his biggest weakness was that he couldn't keep them to himself. Every time he came up with something new, he would excitedly share it with everyone around him. And time after time, someone else would act on those ideas before he ever had the chance. On the other hand, I knew another businessman, quiet, unassuming, never in a rush to talk about what he was working on. While others were busy discussing their plans, he was executing his. And when he finally unveiled his work, it was always refined, polished, and fully realized. He didn't need to hype himself up because his results did all the talking. This is the essence of success. Let your achievements speak for you. When you deliver real, undeniable results, the world will take notice. You won't need to chase validation because your work will naturally attract the right kind of attention. So the next time you feel the urge to announce your plans, pause. Ask yourself, do I want to talk about success or do I want to create it? Because at the end of the day, actions will always matter more than words. The freedom to work on your own terms, the power to let your actions speak louder than words, and the wisdom to protect your dreams until they're ready to be shared. It's not about secrecy, it's about strategy. When you keep your plans private, you're not hiding, you're focusing, you're giving yourself the space to build, to refine, to grow without the weight of opinions and distractions pulling you off course. And when the time comes to reveal what you've been working on, when your results speak for themselves, that impact will be far greater than any announcement ever could. So here's your challenge. Instead of talking about what you're going to do, just do it. Instead of seeking approval, seek progress. And instead of chasing validation, chase excellence. Because in the end, the loudest success stories are written in silence. The ability to operate on your own terms, the strength to allow your actions to speak louder than your words, and the wisdom to safeguard your dreams until they're ready to be revealed. It's not about secrecy or detachment. It's about being deliberate. It's about understanding that your energy, your focus, and your momentum are far too valuable to squander on idle talk. And when the moment arrives to unveil what you've been working on, when the results stand before everyone's eyes, you'll realize that your success carries a depth, a weight that words alone could never capture. You'll have the fulfillment of knowing you didn't just speak about your dreams, you made them real. You turned them into reality. So keeping your plans private isn't about hiding or withholding. It's about recognizing the worth of your energy and your focus. It's about shielding the delicate early stages of your dreams, giving them space to grow in silence until they're strong enough to stand on their own. It's about realizing that action carries far more weight than words and that real results speak louder than any premature announcement ever could. When you choose to keep your plans to yourself, you're not making a statement to the world, you're making one to yourself. You're declaring, I trust myself to see this through. I don't need validation to begin, and I don't need permission to chase my goals. That level of self-assurance is rare, but it's unbelievably powerful. It gives you the freedom to move without hesitation, to learn from failure without fear of judgment, to grow on your own terms. And here's the best part. When you achieve success, you'll inspire others, not by what you said you would do, but by what you've actually accomplished. Your actions will serve as a beacon, a reminder that true progress comes from focus, discipline, and quiet perseverance. You'll prove that it's not about how loudly you declare your intentions, but how consistently you work toward them. So as you move forward, I challenge you to adopt this mindset. The next time you set a goal, resist the temptation to announce it to everyone. Instead, write it down, formulate a plan, and start taking action. Let what you do speak for itself, and let your results be the evidence. Trust that when the moment is right, the world will take notice, and when they do, it will be because you earned it. Remember, success doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't require a stage or a spit grows silently, steadily, in those quiet moments when no one is looking. So protect your dreams, cultivate your focus, and allow your actions to do the talking. That's the road to real success, and it's a journey worth taking.